What's up, YouTube? It's your boy back again, Nola Gold, here with new spoilers, baby. Yeah, I thought we were going to get a champ today because that's how they did it in the last pre-release where they dropped a batch of cards and then a new champ. But we do have new landmarks and some exciting new mechanics, I think. The design on some of these cards are pretty exciting, and we're just going to jump right into it. Starting number 1, we have Pesky Spectre. Before I get into it, I do want to thank Cosmic Plays for making these great graphics. Follow Cosmic Plays on Twitter. Every preview season, he's always the first one to get up a graphic with all the cards that came out in the Riot video. You could also check out the Legends of Runeterra video, which shows each card one by one with a nice little background. But I like them all in one place, so we can talk about them all right now. Pesky Spectre. 0 mana, 1/1 ephemeral. I mean, he's going to die at the end of the turn when it does combat. 0 mana, 1/1. This is in Shadow Isles. With Last Breath, create 2 copies of me in the enemy deck. So you can flood your opponent's deck with the Pesky Spectre. Interesting. But give them a brick draw in the middle of the game? Or in late game? What if they draw a Pesky Spectre in late game? Obviously, you would need something that makes this worth playing. First thing to look at is it is ephemeral. So that means you can play it maybe in a Hecarim deck, because it's ephemeral, or if you have an ephemeral deck, you could you want it to die so you can get the Last Breath. So I don't know that you want to use Deathmark on it, but it is a free unit that you can Deathmark off of, and then it could still hang around later to be sacrificed with a glimpse or anything like that, or just die in combat with a block. So a free enabler for Deathmark is kind of cool. But then also, I like putting bricks in your opponent's deck, which is pretty sweet. And a 0 mana thing that kills itself, you want to compare this maybe to the Caustic Cast, which we've seen paired with a lot of, decks like Piltover has Caustic Cast. People were playing that with the things that ping. I forget what they're called. The 2/4 that drains them for 1 whenever it dies. And then I'm just like not grasping the cards. I usually stream at night and I try and get these videos out in the morning. So bear with me as I try and remember the name of the O3. What is it called? I don't know what it's called. Oh no. Prankster. That's right. Prankster decks have played 0 mana units like Caustic Cast to really go with that. Now, Caustic Cast does get a damage, but if you brick your opponent a draw, that's kind of big in the mid game. Like, they draw this ephemeral that does nothing. So this card's going to have some play to it. It's going to definitely fit into the synergy style ephemeral or sacrifice aristocrat style decks. I do like what it's going to do for the game. I think adding bricks to your opponent's deck sounds pretty sweet. We also have Evershade Stalker. Moving on. 2 mana. Another Nightfall card. That's good. Shadow Isles Nightfall card. I've been trying to build Nightfall decks that don't use Targon. And, getting another Nightfall card is exciting. This one in particular has Ephemeral and Fearsome. So it does have the Fearsome mechanic, which you expect. It can't block. And it also has Ephemeral. So, again, this could be a push to make Ephemeral more of a thing. Nightfall, create a copy of me in hand. So 2 mana, 2/2 Fearsome that dies. But if you Nightfell it, is that how we would say that? If you Nightfell it, and if it fell in the night, you get a copy in your hand. One good thing about this, I could say, and I always look for the optimism in all these cards, because, the design team is trying to make it to where every card has a place somewhere, and I'm just here to try and find the place, whether it's a good place or a bad place, as long as we can find out where it goes. The first thing that calls out to me is that Nightfall decks sometimes can run out of gas, or needs an extra unit all the time. And so if you Nightfall this thing, you can trigger your Nightfall, and then you'll have something else to start up the Nightfall in the next turn, or to keep the Nightfall going. It is a Nightfall unit as well, and so it will be leveling up your Nocturne whenever it attacks. The only other place I can see this really going is going to be something with Smooth Soloist. Because if you Smooth Soloist on the first clip, this is free and puts a free copy in your hand. Create a copy of me in hand. I think that that would work with Soloist. Again, if I'm wrong, let us know in the comments down below, but I'm pretty sure it would work out like that, to where you just dump the board with Stalkers pretty much every turn. I don't know if that's that great, but it is something that you can do. You would have to play Bilgewater with Shadow Isles, would be the play there. Seems more like a meme than something competitive, but you know, this has got to play somewhere. Next up, Landmark, 3 mana, Demacia Landmark, Woot, the Grand Plaza. When an ally is summoned, give it +1/+1 in Challenger this round. Oh, that's cool. Okay, so everything comes into play with the +1/+1 in Challenger. Okay, so think like maybe you get your Garen Challenger, so you can challenge something. Pretty much everything's got challenge, so that's gonna be sweet. Your Bannerman will have challenge. I don't know if you would want to curve this into a Bannerman though. You'd rather play units in front of it. So maybe a more mid-range style Demacia deck is gonna look for the Grand Plaza. What else wants Challenger? Anything with quick attack, so maybe like Senna, Lucian, anything with quick attack you could pair this with. Could be nice. It doesn't impact the board. Again, landmarks always have the issue of they don't do anything when you play them. So definitely want to get the most out of this post, you know, doing nothing. So we're looking for quick attackers, maybe things with tough that are harder to kill, can survive. Oh yeah, what about Undying? That's one. Yeah. Okay, so you can pair this with Undying maybe. Undying just resummons itself every turn, and then it will get +1/+1 Challenger, just repeating to just challenge over and over and over again. It's like a cheaper version of the Noxus Arena or whatever, which I have played with Undying before. That was kind of the home for that card. I felt like having Undying fight their weakest thing every turn. If it dies, who cares? In the same way, this is Challenger. It is cheaper, but it does require an attack token to make use of, or at least a rally. So it might be a little too much, but interesting. The Grand Plaza going around the circle here next to Demacia. Big 8 mana elite Demacia, 6/6 spell shield. Play, capture a unit or landmark. More landmark removal. Going to be very important as they inject more landmarks into the game to make sure that every faction has a way to remove landmarks. And this is going to be Demacia's potential answer to it. It is an elite, which is kind of big if you think about it, because you have Swiftwing Lancer that produces an elite. That's kind of big. The elite title, you could have your elite deck have an 8-drop that can impact the board, which is kind of big. Capturing a unit. Now, normally capture does have this liability of if they remove it, then they get their thing back. But this one has Spell Shield, so it's going to be even harder to remove. I think it's a solid 8-drop. It's definitely, you know, I mean, you can't play too much of this style of card, but maybe this might pair well with, I don't know, Garen Trundle is a deck that I used to like. I used to call it Troll's Judgment. Being able to hard capture a unit or a landmark is going to be big, I think. I like this card, and I like that it's an elite. Adding more elites to the tribe is going to be sweet. Next up, Targon's Peak. 5 mana landmark. Okay, Targon's Peak. Targon landmark. So now we get a different option other than the Star Spring. Round start, reduce the cost of a random card in each player's hand to 0 this round. What? This is random? Okay, so both players get a free something every turn. And this is round start, so that means you're going to want to make sure that you play this in a deck that either has a bunch of high-cost things or some low-cost things that you can play before it, to where the RNG is a little bit more targeted towards your bigger thing, to where you can empty your hand of the less expensive things. Wow. It's 5 mana, so that means you can ramp into it with Catalyst or Weirding Stones, even Voices of the, or Faces of the Old Ones. And then this is basically like pseudo ramp in a way. It is mirrored. Your opponent does get the same free stuff, so depends on how good their free stuff is compared to your free stuff. And whenever it comes to targeting it, it is a round start effect, so it means it'll happen before the draw step. So you can maybe play this whenever your hand is, like if you get it down, you'll know all the odds going into the next turn on the percent of which card is going to be, your good card is getting hit on the 0 modifier for the cost. So keep that in mind when you're playing this card too. Pretty exciting. It's going to make some RNG games for sure, but what you going to do, the deck construction behind this is going to be interesting. It's like a replacement for ramp in a way. It is interactable because it is a landmark, less interactable than something like a Weirding Stones or whatever. But it's going to make for some crazy games. I mean, I'm thinking you get A-Soul, you play with Freyord, you can play Voices of the old ones and just stock your hand full of 8+. You can play other Behold stuff if you want. You can play Voices to ramp into it. I mean, Faces to ramp into it. You can play Voices to fill up. Even a free Voices isn't that bad, because then you can hard cast from hand and play your 0 drop. Maybe you play the Revitalizing Roar as well. You won't get the free 0 off of that, but you can get a heal to keep you in the game, keep the peak rolling. It isn't one-sided though, so you could get busted out. Also, it's probably the worst card in the Stone Mirror because you just turn it on for your opponent as well. But Targon's Peak, it will make for some exciting games. Next up, Moonlight Affliction. Burst 5 mana. Silence 2 enemy units this round. Okay, well, we just start from that baseline. 5 mana for 2 silences is kind of like Hush twice, the way Hush used to be, and that was playable. Cheaper than that, but committed to doing it twice, basically. So we know that mana rate is definitely a possibility. I'm thinking about silencing 2 units. I'm pairing this up against, Feel the Rush. They Feel the Rush and you can silence both their units and block. So that's fine. Nightfall, they can't block this round. Whoa. Okay, so you can burst into a burst spell that can take out 2 blockers. That's pretty big. And you can only silence the enemies too. Do note that. One cool thing about Hush is the plays where you hush your own thing. Like if they frostbite you, you hush your own thing. So that's probably not the best analogy or comparison, putting this next to double Hush. Because sometimes you can hush your own thing, which is cool. Like say you have a Tom Kench that's dying, or somebody that has something captured, you can hush it. And that'll work. They can't block this round. So yeah, Nightfall, like this could be a finisher. I mean, people already play like Cygnus as a one-of to be able to get 2 elusive threats through. But now if their board's not that big, you can Nightfall, or if your board's wider than theirs, you can really pile on with like Stalking Shadows into this at burst speed and just open attack. That's pretty scary. The possibility of this being in a Nightfall deck could be scary. And like the baseline of silence is not bad. Like say you're playing against Overwhelm, you silence 2 things, survive, and then come back on the next attack. Yeah. Feel the Rush, it lines up against well. This is a strong, I think it's gonna be a strong card, but it is 5 mana, so it's gonna have to end the game, and it looks like it can do that. And the opportunity for burst speed pushes is nice. Next up, Solari Sunforger. Ooh, Solari Daybreak. 4 mana, 5/4. That's an interesting stat line. I don't think we've seen this one before. Are there any other 4 mana 5/4s? I don't think so. I haven't. Nope. No 4 mana 5/4s. 4 mana 5/4. That's a stat line. I like that one. Not too tough, but got enough punch. And yeah, look at this. 4 mana 5/4. I like it. Daybreak. Give me lifesteal this round. I think the fact that this is the Daybreak is huge because I've been playing a bit of Leona Diana, Leona A-Soul, and just having enough Daybreaks is something. Also, that deck, I've for the seasonal tournament, I tried splashing into Radiant Guardian and getting the lifesteal. It is only for 1 round, but maybe you could splash for just single. You don't have to splash for the Radiant now. You can just like Daybreak this. Don't forget that you could also Morning Light, which would give this lifesteal again. Your Morning Light's going to get even better now that there's more Daybreak units available. Also, sometimes you don't want to develop a... one thing I like about this being 4 mana Daybreak is sometimes you don't want to develop a Leona. Like against some decks, you want to like punish their develop with your Leona. but you also don't want to miss a play or miss your Daybreak curve. So being able to get another one to replace Leona, especially one with this stat line, because a lot of things don't block a 5/4. Even on 4, you'd have to be reaching into like Piltover. You need like Chump Womp or you know, the Ezreal Draven units like Sump Dredger or something like that, Draven with the Axe, to actually just trade with a 5/4. And then it does have the lifesteal. And again, you compare it with like single combat too. The turn it comes down, you get Daybreak into it, and then not only that, it's targeting. You could even Pale Cascade it and get a big swing back on life. I do like it. I like adding another Daybreak. I think this card's gonna be really good. And you know, also on 4, talking back about that Invoke deck, it is a targeting card, and I like to play the Mountain Scryer, but if you have to splash for Radiant Guardian because of aggro, this is a nice little middle hedge, I think, between the two, because you don't have to commit to Demacia if you don't want to. Like, I like playing Atrocity for the control decks, things like that, splashing for an Atrocity or two, so you can throw your big Celestial unit at them to finish them off, but I also like the lifesteal that Demacia presents. Maybe this can open up more versions of the archetype, which I'm really excited about. More options for more people is always better. What do you think? Which of these cards is your favorite? I'd love to see down in the comments below. I read and respond to every comment. If you enjoy these videos, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. Honestly, I spend most of my time on Twitch, so make sure you check me out there. You can follow me on Twitch. All links in the box down below. Yeah, tell me what you like, baby. One love, good vibes. See you on the next one.